Hello, guys, and we're live between the ropes TV. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. We've got a very special guest joining us, and we've got Mike from Talking Fight, all the way from Canada. Mike, how are you doing, pal?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Mike, what a card! What a main fight! What a co-main! Just what a card from top to bottom. What do you make of it all, man? It was a historic night.
Oh, honestly, great card. Historical event. Huge numbers in that audience.
Yeah.
Wow. The two main events, great. These girls, like, they poured it on. You know what I mean? They left it all in that ring. Wow. The undercard, I was kind of impressed. Shout out to the girl, our girl Lauren Price, man, with her second victory stoppage this time, which was excellent. I didn't get a chance to see too many of the other fights on the undercard, but I guess we'll talk about that, and you guys can let me know. I was up early watching that Cambosis Haney card that I won't tell anybody who won that, but you'll have to tune tonight at 10:30 to watch.
But what were your thoughts on the main event, Mike? I mean, who did you originally have winning that fight? And do you agree with the
scorecards? I had it going in, like, honestly, after the sixth, I had it 4-2. I had it 4-2 Shields. For me, then Savannah kind of gassed a little. You could kind of see it. She was digging deep, man, from that the middle of that fight. She did as much as she could, man. Just, Claressa was just outlanding her. That's really what it came down to. As much as she was, forcing her body weight on her, using her height, dragging her all over the ring, it just wasn't enough. Shields just really cut off the height and that reach, and she did it well tonight, man. Because honestly, you don't see Claressa usually playing that. That counter game, and she played it very well today. And honestly, she used Shields used Savannah's head movement, I think, a lot to her advantage to play those angles. And she landed some bombs, man. And it just goes to show you, Marshall's got a chin. But I agree with it. I think it was pretty close. I don't know if I would have said unanimous, because I had it kind of tied going into that last round. And
really, how did you have it?
I had it tied up going into the last round.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Because I gave Savannah a couple of rounds maybe that were really close, but I felt like she wanted it more. Where Shields was kind of resting for me. She kind of took what was it, like the ninth round? It looked like Shields took the ninth round off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Kind of like she was kind of trying to stay busy, but wasn't. But yeah, at the end of it, it all came down for me to that last round.
Right. I had it a bit wider. I had it significantly wide. Just a couple of comments I want to get through. We've got Dave, the boxing historian. He says, "Evening, guys." He says, "Ray, that was a robbery. Marshall won that. Just a personal joke, bro. I get it. I hope. Lol. That's just a bit of banter me and David have been having. Because, like I said, I had it quite wide." We've also got a comment from Chris. Chris, how are you doing, pal? Congratulations, Claressa Shields, defeating Savannah Marshall on home soil. Undisputed midweight champion, well-deserved winner. Glad I watched it. It was so good to watch Shields, just far too good. I would have to agree with that. Yes. What were your thoughts on the main event? I know you tipped Shields to win. Do you agree with the scorecards? What was your view of the fight?
I definitely had Shields winning it. I think the way she started the fight the first 4 rounds for me, she boxed very well. Her speed, her accuracy, it was kind of like days in Savannah. So I feel like them first few rounds were very crucial in how the fight was going to play out for me. And I feel like Claressa Shields implemented the correct game plan. And obviously Marshall, fair play to her. She's got a hell of a chin. Like, she took some big bombs in there. And Claressa, like, if she landed them on other people, you don't know if they would have been able to withstand it. She boxed very well, and the fight went exactly how. Not exactly, but I expected. I saw it going that way, and it happened that way. So, yeah, well done to Shields. To be honest, I would like to see a rematch, though. To be honest,
You want to see? Do you think a rematch would be any different, though? Yes.
I don't know. I just feel as though we need them kind of fights in boxing. I don't think the outcome will be the same, but
You don't.
I feel like if they were to do that fight in America, like I don't know. I just feel like boxing needs these kind of fights. I was really happy with that.
But if there was a rematch, do you think it would be any different or not?
I don't think so because Shields obviously showed today she can withstand Savannah's power when Savannah does land. Shield obviously showed that her skills are on another level. She can do enough to win rounds and she's got the skills, etc. So no, I don't see the fight playing out any differently, to be honest.
Right, because that kind of confused me a bit. Like because for me, and I know Mike, you had the fight real close. For me, I had the fight quite wide. I couldn't give Savannah Marshall a round, and I'm being honest. I thought Savannah Marshall kept coming forward, walking forward. She kept doing that thing where she was looking under her right and looking to telegraph her right hand. She did land a bit to Claressa Shields' body, but I don't think she was expecting Claressa Shields to be so aggressive on the inside.
No.
If Claressa Shields could punch, she would have stopped Savannah Marshall.
Yeah.
She would have stopped Savannah Marshall. The referee would have thought she would have taken too much punishment. She wouldn't have knocked out Savannah. I just think she would have just stopped Savannah on her feet. I just think the aggression Claressa Shields shown. I think the other thing is, Mike, how key do you think it was that there's 2 minutes in women's boxing? Because I tried to explain that to a few people.
Honestly,
I don't think people understand the difference between 2 minutes and 3 minutes. How key do you think it was having 2 minutes?
Yeah, honestly, man, this is playing a big factor in a lot of these women's fights, man. The fact that they don't get the 3 minutes to perform is the reason why we're seeing a lot of these fights go the distance and why we're seeing close fights happen. You guys want a definitive winner, man. You got to put these women in there 3 minutes, let them go toe to toe for that 3 minutes. That extra minute is going to end up stopping fights. If we're not going to do that, let's lower the weight of the gloves.
Yeah.
Okay? If we're not going to give them 3 minutes, let's lower the weight, go down a couple more ounces, and let's see some finishes, man. Let's stop watching these fights go the distance because it's things like that aren't exciting, man. We want to see the stoppage because. Well, most people want to see the stoppage. I don't know. I want to see the stoppage.
I know you do. I know you do because you're the king of KOs, so I know you want to see it. But I've just got a comment I want to read out from Chris. Chris says he would love to see the rematch, and he's a fan of women's boxing. Now, I like that comment a lot by Chris. Chris comments a lot on our lives. But I think what he's trying to say is, correct me if you're wrong, Chris, that this fight was before, we'll see the last 2 or 3 years, people were a bit unsure about women's boxing. It's taken an advert like that to think, wow, women's boxing deserves to headline an arena like that.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to remember, these two are at their peak. If you take Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, for example, they fought when they were no longer at their peak. These two have fought at their peak.
Right.
It wasn't, no matter how you scored the fight, it was a wonderful advert for not just for boxing overall. So definitely, I think there's some legs in that. Davey, boxing historian, says the thing about rematches on the fighters can go back to the drawing board and work on went wrong. Rarely do rematches have the same fight. I think what Davey's trying to say there is sometimes rematches tend to go the same way. Not always though, but tend to. Mike, I know Gas was saying he would like to see the rematch, but he's a bit unsure about how the outcome would go. How do you think the outcome was going to have a rematch, whether it be in America or over here in the UK?
Honestly, I think a rematch would probably end up with the same outcome. I think Shields would go back and she would show us a bit more because you know what? She showed us a lot. She was a different fighter from this fight, from her last fight. Who did she fight? Was it Cozen? Emma Cozen?
Emma Cozen, yeah,
Emma Cozen. Like her last fight with Emma Cozen, come on. From that fight to this fight, that was a different fighter. She played that counter game. She went to the body. She played the levels. Yeah, she was headhunting a little, because she wanted to, prove her point. But she picked apart Savannah Marshall in that fight. She broke her down. She took away the power. She felt the power early, and then she took that power away by going to the body. That's how you take that power away, man. You go to that body, that takes that power away. And she did that and displayed it very well throughout that fight. That's why by the time Savannah came out of the ring, out of the corner after 4, didn't you see how heavy she was breathing? She had to dig real deep just to get that second win when it came in the 7th, right? She gave it her all. My hat goes off to her. Honestly, she put on a great performance. You know what? Yeah, I'd like to see a rematch. I think the outcome will probably be the same. I think, Claressa, she's now undisputed 3 weight classes, first boxer ever, male or female, to do that. Like, she's setting a lot of records here, man. And just to witness her and Savannah in the ring doing what they did today, I'm just happy to be a part of that. And honestly, I think this fight and Taylor Serrano fight have done a lot this year for women's boxing. Soon, man, we're going to stop calling it women's boxing, believe me, and we're just going to be calling it boxing. We won't even be referring to it as women. It'll be just last names and boxing. That's what it'll be eventually.
Yeah, and I think we're probably on the way to that now, to be honest with you, Mike.
Yeah.
Yes, just want to come to you though, because we've got this comment here by Davey. He says 12 minutes, 3 minutes in world. I'm assuming he means world title fights because it's about being equal. Savannah Marshall's style, do you think it would lend itself to having 3-minute rounds as opposed to 2-minute rounds and 12-minute rounds as opposed to 12 rounds as opposed to 10 rounds?
I feel as though maybe longer rounds might benefit Savannah, because obviously we know she's got power. She can, do you know what I mean? So even if it was a case of like the power is obviously her equalizer kind of punch, and obviously in 2-minute rounds, as we saw, they go so quick. Like the round starts and then boom, before you know it, you've got 30 seconds left, and by then the other fighter, say if they've had a good round, they've already done their work, and maybe they're looking to hold or move, etc. So I feel as though that extra minute or so will allow fighters to engage, and it will benefit the bigger punchers like Savannah, because it gives her more of a window to get to work and maybe steal the judge's eyes at some points in rounds, to be honest. So I feel as though it may benefit her, but I feel as though for someone of Shields' style, it suits her perfectly, because she gets in, does her work, and then the time passes by quite quick.
Definitely. We've got a comment from Josh. Josh would usually be on, but he's chilling in the comments. He's having a night off. He says, need a rematch, fight of 2 halves. Had Claressa winning, but Savannah did herself proud, plus biggest fight for both. I would agree with the biggest fight for both. This is still, even if they're doing rematch, it's still the biggest fight out there for Claressa Shields. Again, I'm not too sure if I can agree with fight of 2 halves. That's just my opinion, though. As Josh knows, I kind of struggle to give Savannah as many rounds as what everybody else did from that fight. Davey says, I was meaning rematches a lot of the time, even though mostly same winner, but they usually change the type of fight we watch. Few, while all 3 fights were different. That's a very, very good point. Chris says, female version of Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. I've watched women's boxing before, but only when the men weren't on. I've loved the hype on walkouts, and I'll be watching women's boxing from now on. Mike, that was another interesting point, because that was a bit like a concert, wasn't it, really? From Savannah Marshall's ring entrance, from Jill Scott. So Jill Scott was a lioness. England's women's football team won the European European Cup. So Jill Scott's quite now a celebrity. And also as well, we'll talk about Alicia Baumgartner and Michaela Mayer later on, but because Michaela Mayer, if you take her entrance with the Spice Girls, everyone knows who the Spice Girls were. And then Claressa Shields doing a little bit of a dance in a shimmy with some backup dancers. Just how much of a spectacle and how important is that to draw fans and keep them engaged?
Definitely, that is important. We need it. It definitely puts on a show, man. It's entertaining, man. That's what we're there to be. We're there to be entertained. You know what I mean? That's what we want, man. We want to see the show before we get in there, because you know what? It makes her a much better entrance, man. Just these basic ring walks. Yeah, that was good tonight, man. I love how Claressa Shields was in on that dance number a bit. I like that, man. That was pretty slick, And it's entertaining, man. It's gonna grab people. It's gonna grab them, bring them in, make them want to watch. You know, it reminds you of Tyson Fury, like his big spectacles when he comes into the ring, right? Or Anthony Joshua when he does his huge ring walks, man. You got the ring walks make the fight, man. The ring walks make the fight. It's all about the hype. I think it's great. I'd like to see it more over here. You know, putting in some effort and some money and some time and thought into your ring walk.
And that's why I think Claressa Shields is primarily over here in the first place, because I don't think women's boxing is as big as what it is on the other side of Atlantic, including Canada, is what it is in the UK. Another example to support what I'm saying there, yes, the core main event, 2 fighters from the US. For me, that fight should only been taking place in the US, but we were lucky. We're blessed to have it on our shows. Alicia Baumgartner versus Michaela Mayer. I mean, what were your thoughts on that fight? Because for me, the wrong lady won that fight, but I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, I'd agree, to be honest. The wrong lady won the fight. I think it was a good fight, as expected. What's it called? It obviously added to the spectacle, and it built up the fire for the main event. But in terms of the fight, I just feel as though the wrong decision won. Me personally, I had it 8-4 to Maya. Me personally, right. Yeah. Obviously, we know Maya is the taller, longer, like ranger boxer, and obviously, I feel like she implemented when she got going. Obviously, the first 2 rounds I'd say were a bit shaky, but after the second round, Maya took control of the fight. To be honest, she boxed. She done what she needed to do. Yes, Baumgartner was hitting her with the odd shots here and there. She was putting her shots together, but I just feel as though Maya was just doing enough to win. She had her at the end of the jab, and obviously, I feel as though maybe the judges probably preferred the aggression or them few shots that Baumgartner won. But for me, that was a wrong decision. And I feel as though the correct thing to do for that fight, obviously, we know that Baumgartner said now she's going to go and chase greatness, which fair play to her, respect, and go for the undisputed. But I think the wrong decision was made. And you heard it in the crowd. There was plenty of boos in there. I feel like the correct thing to do would probably be to get a rematch between them two, to be honest.
Yeah. Mike, interesting, because she does want Choi next. She does want to become undisputed. But whether they fight again, either at super featherweight for all the marbles for undisputed, or whether they step up a lightweight and fight, that's definitely a fight I want to see again, because those two styles complement each other so well. But could you see a case for Baumgartner winning that fight? Or again, did you have it, Michaela Mayer?
Honestly, the wrong woman won that. Mayer had that. Mayer made the right adjustments. You know, after the second round, she made the right adjustments to her game to be able to, you know, play Alicia's game, you know. And for me, you know, she might have landed some big shots, but she didn't do enough. Honestly, I think we need to see a rematch.
Yeah, I would have to agree. For me, Michaela's jab was superb. You know, she was controlling the fight, controlling the distance. She was exercising the backhand off that really, really well. But one thing I did like about Alicia Baumgartner, though, is when she came on the inside and she let her hands go, she made it so uncomfortable for Michaela Mayer. Yas made a very good point about aggression. And for me, there's a difference between aggression and effective aggression. Do you think ultimately that was the difference there, Mike? Definitely.
That was the difference. Effective aggression. You know, I give it to Baumgartner. When she lets those hands go, there's not much that she can't do. And honestly, her corner tonight was telling her the whole time, let him go, let him go, let him go. The whole time, every round, same thing, let him go. When she let him go, you know, she comes in, she plays those angles, she's up over those jabs, coming on the inside, like she's busy. And, you know, that aggression, I think that aggression and the way she was coming forward is probably what made the judges weigh it in her favor. You know what? It just goes to show you, man, aggression can be effective in the way that the judges look at it, man. But honestly, for me, Mayer, after she reset herself, you know, she was playing a great game. she was very, very technical with the way that she was dealing with Baumgartner. The way she would come in, the way she was using that long jab to stop her, reset her. It was, it was a robbery. What can you say, man? She got robbed. I thought it should have went to her. And definitely, I think there should be a rematch in the future. The reason why that fight is taking place over there is because over here, nobody cares about that crap. And it bugs me, man. Nobody's going to pay. Nobody wants to pay to see that headline over here. You know what I mean? Nobody even wants to pay to see that in a co-main event, which is ridiculous. That's why these girls are coming over there, man. Right now, the UK is doing women's boxing justice, man. Like, that's the hotbed right now for women's boxing. That's why everybody's coming over there to fight on those cards.
Mike, for me, that fight could have been a main fight anywhere else. It was that good of a fight, and it didn't disappoint. There's Greg there. Nice comment from Greg. Evening, Greg. How are you doing, mate? I like this comment, Yaz, and I kind of want to ask you about it. We've got Chris saying, at least the main event wasn't a robbery, because that would have been a disaster. It still is Mia won that fight for me, but Robert Smith won't do anything about it, as always. Shock horror. I mean, Rob, because there's been so many poor decisions in the UK, because for me, growing up watching boxing, it always used to be Russia, it always used to be Germany, it always used to be all these different places that British boxer would get dodgy decisions. Now, these dodgy decisions are happening in the UK. But in terms of what Robert Smith and the British Board of Boxing control, have got any jurisdiction between a world title fight between two Americans, is open for debate, because I don't think he's got much say in that, to be honest. But in terms of that decision, do you think that was an actual robbery, or do you just think it was a close fight that really, when you look, when the emotion goes and when you sit down and call later day, actually it could have gone either way?
No, I think it was a robbery, purely like it was a good fight, but it was clear who the winner was. And I know I've said it before, but the reaction in the crowd when they announced who the winner was clearly says so. So all them people can't be seen, like all them, you can't tell me that all them people are wrong, right? And obviously I do feel as though recently, we've had a bit of dodgy decisions in the UK, etc. But I feel as though we do need to implement maybe something in boxing where if scores like that happen, where a lot of people, the experts, all the fans, etc., have someone winning quite comfortably and it's clear, they should be held accountable and they should justify, what is it that, obviously nick the fight for them, because I don't quite understand how Baumgartner won that one. Yes, she is effective when she gets in close and lets her hands go. But apart from that, what's her name? Maya dominated the fight. Yeah, she dominated the fight quite comfortably for me as well, especially when she got, as Max said, she got settled after the second round and the third round. She took control and she didn't really look. Obviously, the few times when Baumgartner landed, she was a bit buzzed, but she never looked like, she was out on her feet or anything like that, or she was, dominated or looked like she was going to be stopped. No, if anything, she was the one dominated. The fight was kind of like she took control of the fight.
Okay. All right, that's a fair point. Davey, the boxing historian, wanted me to bring me back to this point, Mike, just for you, because what he says is you can't just call it boxing without saying it's either male or female. He says unless you're willing to watch men and women fight each other, then how are you supposed to categorize what's on a card? So that's the point of view he's coming from. Also, some time ago, I interviewed a female boxer, Ebony Bridges, and Ebony Bridges was absolutely adamant it's women's boxing and it remains women's boxing, because she wanted a strong identity for women. She wanted people to be aware that it's women who are boxing, therefore it is women's boxing. Do you see that argument, Mike? Because I get where you're coming from, the fact that the performance, so but calling it women's boxing somehow makes it different from what is men's boxing, and the fact that they have an equal standard, you're happy to call it boxing. But you see the argument against that?
Definitely, yeah. No, I see the argument there. I know what you guys are talking about. I understand, but for me, I watch both. So when I talk about boxing, I just refer to it as Shields, Marshall, Mayer, Baumgartner. You know, just like I'm talking about Fury Wilder or Usyk Joshua. I'm not talking about if it's a women match or a men's match, because I'm a fan of all of it and I watch all of it and I analyze all of it. So for me, I just call it boxing. That's what it is. That's my opinion. Maybe some other people see it that way. Maybe we will all see it that way someday. Unfortunately, people have their own opinions. I understand where the argument's coming from, though. I get it. And you know what, with Ebony Bridges saying it is women's boxing, I can understand, because you know what women have had to go through to get to where they are. They don't want anything taken away from that. Exactly. I get that argument. I get that argument. As a woman, I get that argument. But for me, as a fan watching it, to me, it's boxing. I don't classify it as women's or men's.
Yeah. And this makes this question from Josh very, very difficult to answer. So yes, I'll let you answer it. Women's boxing versus men's boxing. Which genders had the better? Yeah.
Because you know what, we've had, like, to be fair, although there's a lot of shenanigans that go on in male boxing with, fighters avoiding each other, all this kind of nonsense. And obviously we don't really hear as much of that in women. Like, it seems a lot easier to make fights for the women. I just feel as though, purely based on the fact that how willing these women are to step up and fight each other and put on these shows compared to the men, I just feel like there's a lot of stalling from the men's side. So I would say probably women, because they keep growing from strength to strength. And obviously, the men obviously they've had a few good fights, but overall, I'd say the women's boxing has had the better year, to be honest.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think if you've got Claressa Shields versus Savannah Marshall and Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, it's very, very difficult to argue with that. Mike, what's your view on that?
Yeah, honestly, let's put it this way: how many historical events have happened this year with women in boxing? First, wait a minute. We got Madison Square Garden, right?
Yeah.
We got first time two women fought in Dubai, right? We now have 3 weight division undisputed. Wow, man, the women are doing a lot this year, aren't they?
They are. I think it's going to keep on going.
Of stuff for women's boxing.
I think it's going to keep on going. But one thing I would say, and this is me being me at my open best, is a lot of that to do with a lack of depth, because you're seeing a lot of talent coming through, and that's what this card by Ben Shalom really highlighted. The lightweight division in the next couple of years is going to be really, really big. If you think about the fact that boxing at the Olympics in 2028 may not go ahead, all right? So a lot of those kids in and around those weight classes will probably look to turn pro. It's 6 years away, but let's just say it's not going to go ahead. There'll be a lot more depth in women's boxing. That means there may be more egos, there may be more promoters involved in women's boxing, and there may be more politics that's in the men's. So it might be all right now, but do you think the sustainability and seeing all these matchups, because in the scenario that I've given, Yaz, I'll put it to you.
That's a good question, actually. I do feel as though we will probably start to see a little bit as women's boxing continues to grow over the next few years. We've also got barriers coming into place, like you said, with the potential of the no longer bit like the Olympics being called off, etc. So I feel as though we may start to see a little bit more of that, where it becomes a lot more difficult to make fights because of certain situations. So I do feel as though we will start to see that as women's boxing does start to grow, to be honest, over the next few years or so.
Yeah, fair one. Got this comment in from Chris. Seems to be at every boxing event we don't seem to have a perfect night of decisions. There always seems to be one fight where there's a robbery. Boxing doesn't like to be perfect most of the time. But Mike, do you just think that's just down to the fact that, at the end of the day, boxing's not like, say, what you would call soccer, what we would call football. If a ball crosses the line, it's a goal. There's no argument. If a ball goes into a hoop in basketball, it's a point. There's no argument. Boxing's subjective. Do you think that's a part of that, or do you think maybe there's something else?
No, there's definitely that's a part of it, man. Don't forget, this thing's being judged by how many people? Everybody's opinion is different. Everybody's thing is different. We just made clear. We made perfect sense of that tonight. The way I scored it, the way you scored it. It's always going to be a factor. Yes, it's going to be a lot harder to see. I think we got a couple years before it gets really hard to make these matches. I think these women are still willing to prove themselves and get out there and just get in the ring with whoever they need to. No more ducking and dodging. I don't see that happening for a couple of years anyway.
Yeah. I'm sorry, boys, but this comment cracked me up. I think few will be calling out Shields in the morning, knowing his talk. To be fair, yes. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't be surprise me if he sends Shields a contract and asks her to sign it by Wednesday or something daft like that. But it just goes to show how. I mean, when you looked in the crowd, yes, everyone was there. You had Joshua Boatti there, Chris Eubank was there, David Hay was there, Derek Chisora was there, Jermaine Defoe was there. You had celebrities from other walks of life. This really transcended into the mainstream, didn't it? Yes, not just the main fight, but the whole card, the whole event. Everyone wanted
100%, because firstly, like, it was an all women's show. And obviously, you got the machine of Sky Sports pushing that around. Now, obviously, we know how much of a machine that is in the UK. You probably might be aware of it as well, Mike, because obviously we got the news, right? So it spreads everything, football, everything related to sports. So you got that. So of course, people are going to buy into it. It's at a hub like the O2 Arena. So it's just bringing more and more eyeballs to the sport. And obviously, seeing women fighters will start to benefit off that in the long run. So it's only a positive, to be honest.
Definitely. And just as a point, Mike, what do you think? What do you think's next for the winners? In terms of Alicia Bungana, Claressa Shields, just as a final point for yourself, what would you like to see next for them?
Well, I'd like to see Baumgartner rematch for sure. I think that needs to happen. We all need that to happen. Shields, I don't know what's next for her, man. Maybe she should fight Tyson Fury. Right? Hey, man.
Yeah.
Why not? I'd pay to see it.
The undisputed biggest mouth in boxing.
I can imagine the gloves are off.
Right? You know what is next for Shields, man? What does she have to prove? What is she still doing? 3-division, undisputed, only person to ever do it. 2-time back-to-back gold medalist in the Olympics. She got nothing left to prove, man. Does she stay around? Does she, take a fight once a year, or, lose a belt in 18 months, or what's going to happen? Or does she just hang it up? She's got nothing left to prove, but she can easily get back in that ring and do it. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure where she would go from here.
Yeah. All right. And yes, same question to yourself. In terms of what you'd like to see next for Bumgarner and Claressa Shields.
Well, let's start with Claressa Shields. To be honest, I'm literally in the same boat as Mike. I really don't know where does she go from here, because she's done it all. So I kind of struggle to see, like, who does she go? Where does she go fight? That's why I said initially I feel as though maybe the rematch may not sound too bad. But for Baumgartner, I would like to see that rematch purely because of the decision. But I can understand her willingness to want to move on and go for undisputed. So I won't be surprised if that fight were to happen. But I feel like morally the right thing to do would be to get that rematch on, because people buy into it because of the controversy of this decision. So I feel like that fight will do well as well, the rematch.
And just as a point, Mike, I've just read this comment coming in from Greg, the real GST. He says the zone is sinking. As I said, Eddie and Matchroom will always be good as they have many pies, but they should never have left Sky Sports, in his opinion. Obviously, there's no one better to know the impact of Matchroom and the zone over on the other side of the Atlantic than yourself, Mike. But how would you summarize Eddie Hearn's impact over there? Because from where we're sitting, it's not been impressive at all.
No, it hasn't done anything. It's not. It hasn't impressed me at all either. Like I fully agree with you. It hasn't done enough. It hasn't brought enough. You know, if the only thing that I can say is, yeah, hey, DAZN is now filming cards here in Toronto. That's about the only impact that I've seen. We got a great entertainment complex, man. Rebel Sports Entertainment Center. We're throwing fights there now. Lee Baxter Promotions, one of the youngest guys in the game, is I guess he's done a deal with them. They're coming back in December for another card. That's about all I've seen so far. Other than that, they're not. There's no support, man. Honestly, Eddie, Sky Sports, man. I don't think that should happen. I don't think that should happen, in my opinion, either. I think that was a dumb move.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Yas? Or do you think actually he was right to see if the grass was greener on either side?
No, I think he was. I think he shouldn't have left Sky Sports. I think obviously it's easier said than done when someone comes to you with a pot of money like how DAZN did. But look at his stable now. You've got a lot of frustrated fighters. You know, he's kind of like forgotten about some of the guys in the UK, and he's focusing on guys out there. So you know, his stable's not really strong right now. You've got guys talking to other promoters, etc. So I just feel as though, I don't think it was a good idea, to be honest. I feel like he should have stayed with Sky. They're a proven platform. They've been in the game for years. Their shows, like the way they promote boxing and they push the sport, is different to everyone else. So I don't think it was a wise decision to leave Sky to go to DAZN.
Right. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap it up, but I just want to come back to you, Mike, just for a quick point. Just a quick summary of the quick sentences to sum up the evening. And what was it? What was your highlight? What was your highlight, Mike, of this card, this all historic female card? What was your highlight of it?
Honestly, highlight for me was that last fight, man. That was the highlight. It was everything I expected it to be. Both women came out. They gave it their all. They left it all in that ring. And, great sportsmanship after. You know, you could even see Claressa go up to her and be like, yo, in that 7th round, when you took me and you did this, that was really hard. You know, she was really critiquing her and saying, hey, yo, this is when you were kicking my ass. You know, and that was good. It was nice to see that, man. It was great to see these women do what they do best, man, and that's fight. And honestly, that was the highlight for me. And, shout out to all the people on the undercard, man. Putting on great performances tonight as well, man. Definitely female card. It was an historic event, and the entire thing was a highlight, man. That's, in my opinion, you couldn't ask for better.
Nice one. Great. And yes, how about yourself? What was your highlight of the whole night?
My highlight was probably after the final bell when they kind of embraced each other after all the back and forth for the last few weeks or so. It's nice to see that that respect.
10 years, yes, been 10 years
exactly. So, but I'm talking about the whole back and forth with the whole gloves are off, all that kind of stuff. It's nice to see them embrace. I feel as though even though Marshall was not able to get the win, she'll grow from that, and she'll get even better as a fighter. So I'm excited. I'm very happy with the whole show, to be honest.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think it is difficult to pick one, but not only did we see 2 brilliant fights, we knew they were going to be brilliant. But for me, it was nice to see some young prospects coming through, because although the hearing now was good, it tells me that when you see Caroline Dubois, Shannon Ryan coming through, Georgia O'Connor getting a win. I know, Mike, you did a preview on Georgia O'Connor, which I'm really glad about, because she's from my neck of the woods, but she's a terrific fighter, great amateur. It just lets people know that there's a future, that this is going to keep on going. So that was terrific to see. Guys, thank you very much for joining us in the chat with all the comments. It's been a pleasure to have you guys as always. Mike, thank you very much for joining us. Guys, you need to check out Mike's channel, Talk and Fight. Terrific channel. Loads of good previews, have loads of great guests, cover fights, do watch alongs. Terrific channel. So guys, don't forget to give that one a look. And guys, we've got plenty more content to come. We're back live again on Monday night. So see you guys in our next video. Take care.